the idea of authenticity and them having built up some trust over time because of those interactions. It wasn't simply, let's LinkedIn connect and then I'll immediately give you a pitch and then, why didn't we take a meeting? It was nurtured over time. I think one of the most important things that a marketer can do when they're doing an ABM program is have a fantastic list of prioritized accounts and make sure that that's agreed to and also co-worked by the sales organization. If your business has a big thesis about the market, it's okay to put out big questions into the market, big challenging campaigns that maybe have no data behind them to begin with. But then data can come in behind and then, see which of the tactics are effective, which messages are effective. These days, anything you can do to keep momentum going is going to be vital. So, a key metric that I'd be looking at is certainly time through stage. I think that the days of ABM being account-based marketing on its own, they should be long gone. It's absolutely a team sport, and marketing has to be working closely with sales. If someone feels like you're misusing the community, for your own gain, they know that there's going to be some gain in there for you. I mean, it's expected, but it's a matter of how do you calibrate that to make sure that the value you're putting in is far exceeds the whatever you're getting out of it.
So let's get started. So I was just going through your website, and there is this you're trying to automate Meddic analysis. So tell us more about that.
Sure. So if you're familiar with Meddic, Meddic is a framework that is used to help salespeople to better understand their prospects and have better conversations and ultimately move deals forward. It's never intended to be really like a checklist. Like, I think that too often people misinterpret it and think of it as just simply something where you tick it off and you have, as you're going through a conversation, you're like, oh, I missed this and that, and let me get that included. It should never be thought of that. So Meddic really just consists of a way to approach your prospects so that you fully understand them and their needs, so that you can better fulfill them, or maybe not. Maybe it's not a great match. So, you think about the components of the acronym that is Meddic. There's things in there like understanding the decision maker, understanding, what is the economic buyer and their economic need. So really, it's a way for salespeople themselves to understand what's going on within their prospects. And sales leaders can use it as well as a good coaching and training environment, so they can identify when there's problems or maybe there's missing elements within a sales process, so that they can help their sales team to move forward better.
Okay. And so you've also mentioned that you've crafted messaging strategies focus on the industry first AI capabilities with video first approach to content. So can you please go deeper onto this?
Yeah, I really enjoy video as a means for communicating value. And I think one of the reasons why is that, we are very, very much in a world where buyers are bombarded by, or potential buyers are bombarded by information. There's lots of options for them to solve the problems they have or solve problems they didn't know they had. And video is just a very lightweight way to explain complex problems in a way that's very easily consumable by a prospect. So, the idea that you can just simply throw a ebook or a best practice guide at someone just isn't really realistic. I mean, especially for someone that is trying to investigate which of the 15 different alternative priorities that they have right now they should be focusing on immediately. So video provides a great way to introduce topics and help them to understand. And then even going further into middle and bottom of funnel, it's a great way to introduce case studies, to have explainers about your product. There's just so many different ways that you can use video to advance prospects from the very top of the funnel all the way through the bottom.
Okay, now, that's awesome. So
you can do it wrong, of course.
Yeah,
you can do it very wrong, of course, too.
Yeah, go ahead. I was just going to ask.
It's you can do it very wrong as well. Like, I think generic explainer videos that lack personality, that doesn't necessarily do you a lot of good. Videos that are trying to demonstrate your product that end up coming across more complicated than you'd like, that's never good either. So video just by itself is not a cure-all. It does need to be done well.
Okay. So let's just get deeper into this. So there has to be a content production strategy that fuels all of this. Okay. And obviously you must have built this for the company SetSail. So can you please tell us the components? Okay. How do you build that and how would you use that into a funnel?
Sure. I think the number one thing that I think you should be thinking of is customer first. Like that's really where it all starts for any kind of content strategy. So really understanding what is the ideal customer in terms of if it's a business to business, what does that business look like? So things like firmographically, industry, geography, behaviorally. So what are indicators that their people at the company are acting in such a way that indicates that they may be a good fit for your solution? And then technographically, so do they have the right mix of technologies and processes and the like to make them a good fit? So really understanding the company customer, then understanding the persona, who are the buyers within the company, which departments are they in, really understanding them and their motivations and what their challenges are. So fundamentally, you got to start there. And then I think you need to move on to thinking about, well, what are their channels to market? Where do they congregate? Where are they getting information and insights? Is there a community already? Is there a community that needs to be developed? And so just thinking about how they collect the information on how they prioritize what they're going to do next is really important. And you're not going to do that unless you understand your customer in a lot of detail. So once you have those two things in place, then I think then your content strategy starts to become more natural. So you think about what you would communicate. Well, it's easier to do when you know who you're communicating to. Where do you place your content? That's gonna be prioritized based on where your customers are visiting. Like if you see that all of your customers are they're maybe a technical crowd and they're searching not just simply on Google, but they're going to developer sites, let's say. Well, I mean that's clearly going to influence your strategy. If you find that you're selling to C-level executives, they're probably not going to be filling out a form, a contact us type form. They're probably going to be asking peers within, dark social about their peers' opinions on different things. So how do you get into those communities? So again, it just comes back to really understanding who your customer is before you can set out a good content strategy.
Okay, that's awesome. So given the environment that you're in 2024. So what's ABM and how ABM is shaping out? Is it different from last few years where the money was there? Or is it the same? What are your opinions?
Yeah, I mean, to me, ABM is still comes back to what I mentioned just previously, which is, it's account based. So how do you choose those accounts? How do you prioritize them? And how do you communicate with them in order to generate, encourage, and develop interest? So on the former, like I think one of the most important things that a marketer can do when they're doing an ABM program is have a fantastic list of prioritized accounts and make sure that that's agreed to and also co-worked by the sales organization. So what I mean is very within the internal teams, very transparently make sure that your scoring mechanism is published and understood, and then prioritize your account list. Then compare it with sales, have a discussion with sales about who they feel like is being prioritized, whether that's a qualitative approach or a quantitative. You can start to see, is there overlap? Are you in the right ballpark? And so then you can really build out that stronger list. I think that the days of ABM being account-based marketing on its own, they should be long gone. It's absolutely a team sport, and marketing has to be working closely with sales in order to make sure that the list development is in line with who sales thinks should be targeted, and that marketing agrees with that. and that as you're marketing to those folks, that you also have a sales-led motion that's similarly approaching them. And I never even mentioned, more product-led approaches too, like product-led and ABM. Product-led, of course, has become, much more prominent these days. And that doesn't invalidate ABM. It just means that the kinds of people, the kinds of companies that you want to get into your PLG flows, you probably, you may know who many of those are, especially the enterprise or mid-market. And so you can target ABM programs to drive them towards, a PLG motion. It doesn't mean that PLG doesn't mean sit back and wait for people to show up on your doorstep and start using your product. Marketing can absolutely be playing a role there too. So just to kind of recap, it's still very much about identifying and prioritizing the accounts and determining what are the best channels to communicate with them, the right message that's going to resonate with them. But I think the things that have changed are you have to be coordinated with sales. And if it's a sales-led motion and if it's a product-led motion, you similarly have to be coordinated with the product-led team.
Okay, and you've mentioned that obviously you saw a lot of surge in the MQLs and SQLs applying this ABM strategy within this company. So any particular tactics which really worked out well for you?
So is there an example of where that ABM approach has worked out well?
Yeah, for your current gig, so you sort of mentioned that triple the SQLs, implementing the ABM strategy. So can you please get a bit deeper into that as to what worked?
Yeah, so I think the what's really worked well has been just the collaboration with sales, and I think I would extrapolate that for anybody that's working in an ABM approach is, again, knowing who you're going to target and working with the sales team to make sure that you're all targeting the same folks. I think about like the SDR, sales development reps. They're out there, they're calling, they're emailing, they're using LinkedIn to try to generate interest. If you have marketing air cover that's also targeting those same companies, that's just going to make the outbounding approach that much easier. I mean, think about getting a call from an outbound rep. What's the first line that's almost always used? It's basically, "Hi, this is Peter calling from X company." And if you're familiar with that X company, or even if you just, sort of heard of that X company, that's going to encourage you to stay on the line for that extra minute. That's going to, hopefully lead to a longer conversation, more interest. So brand visibility, brand awareness is just a vital part of supporting outbound. So, you asked about how that tripling happened. The tripling happened principally because of that tight coordination between the ABM target account list and the sales organization.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. So you talk a lot about matrices and you write a lot about KPIs and all of that. So what's on your marketing dashboard at the moment?
Yeah, so for me, metrics are super important, and I did start blogging about it. The reason why is not because I think metrics are the only approach or that data-led is the only way to go. To me, it's fundamentally qualitative and quantitative that you need to be as a marketer. You need to be thinking about both things. And I started writing about metrics because I found that as one of those pillars, I found it difficult to find the measurements that really count for go-to-market teams. So I thought I'd put them all in one place and just kind of make it as a open encyclopedia for anybody that wants to access it. But I do want to make clear, like my view is always that data-led has its applications. Like there are certainly things where data can be used on its own. I'm thinking about conversion rates on a landing page or something similar. So it can be used discreetly, but fundamentally, a great marketer is going to be combining the two things. They're going to be combining hypotheses that they're willing to put out there and test, big bets that have no data behind them whatsoever, but they just they based on what they're seeing in the market, what a marketing leader is seeing in the market, they think is a great bet. Or just related to, like, big bets related to philosophies. Like I think if your business has a big thesis about the market, it's okay to put out big questions into the market, big challenging campaigns that maybe have no data behind them to begin with. But then data can come in behind, and then see which of the tactics are effective, which messages are effective and the like. So I think it's very symbiotic, the way that qualitative and quantitative work together.
Okay, that's awesome. So if you have to assess a pipeline health, which data points would you look at?
So I think starting with pipeline generation, I think is the first thing I would be looking at. So I know your question's more on like the health of the existing pipeline, but the first thing I would be doing is, are you actually generating enough pipeline so that going forward, once you've exhausted that pipeline, either through closing it as a win or closing it as a lost or whatever, or pushing it, are you generating sufficient pipeline to keep you going? So I'd be very, very keenly aware of pipeline generation metrics. And then from the pipeline health perspective, certainly velocity is something to be looking at. You want to see whether or not deals are moving through your pipeline. You want to look at deal length and the like. So pipeline velocity, particularly for looking at different products and seeing what they're generating within a what the throughput is for a given period. I think that recently we've seen in the market a real slowdown in terms of buying behavior. I think that's sort of a worldwide phenomenon in the last year and a half, 2 years, where deals just take longer to close. And so these days, anything you can do to keep momentum going is going to be vital. So, a key metric that I'd be looking at is certainly time through stage. Now, what that begs, of course, is very tight, very transparent definitions of what those stages are. I think that's where there's often a breakdown between sales and marketing, and even like other executive leaders, is a non-shared understanding of what it means to move something from a MQL or MQA to an SQL or SQA. And if you don't have very tight entry and exit criteria between these various stages, it's going to be fuzzy, and there's going to be arguments, and there's going to be disagreement about whose fault it is that pipeline's not growing or wins aren't happening. So it may not be exactly in your question about what would I be looking at pipeline health, but a key contributor towards pipeline health is, do you have very well structured, very jointly understood definitions of what is stage 1, stage 2, whatever your stages are? Is that clearly shared amongst all people in the company?
So let's just go deeper into some of the definitions. And you've written a lot about it. Okay, so I think one of the topic is pipeline velocity, and some people get it wrong, some people get it right. So what are your opinions on it?
Yeah, so pipeline velocity is not simply time and stage. I think that the name sounds like it is, but it's more about the throughput, the way a factory works. So how much is a factory pushing out per hour? And so because pipeline velocity is a factor of how much is coming in, how much inputs. So deals being added, factor of your win rate, the average deal size, and how long it takes to close a deal. And so why that's important is you may see that there's deals that are enterprise deals that are like $500,000, but you may also have another line of business that has $10,000 deals, these high velocity deals, these deals that are moving through quickly. And if you're seeing that you're generating a much higher velocity with these smaller deals, well, maybe that is a better market for you. Maybe you do want to be focusing more product attention on a self-serve model or a PLG-led model or the like. So velocity is as you say, it's a misunderstood term, but I think it's a very important one for understanding, particularly where you want to invest from a product and from a sales motion perspective.
Okay. And you've also talked about the average cycle length, and so how would you define those, and what does a good sales cycle look like at this point?
So it'll obviously vary depending on the company and what you're selling for what a good sales cycle will look like. But maybe generally, the way I might think about it is the degree to which you understand the sales cycle, the degree to which you can look at a deal. We talked about Meddic at the beginning, the way you can look at a deal and understand, okay, I have these elements in place. I have these people supporting me internally. Those people have bought into the business case and are championing it internally. I have a very strong understanding of where competition stands in this deal. So, I guess a way to think about it is, how well do you understand your own sales process and the dynamics of deals within that sales process? Now, AI, of course, is and lots of data are helping in that for sure. Like having like just a gut check on deals is not a great way for ensuring consistency. But using data about communication between the seller and their prospects, using data about responses, how responsive are they? Are they showing up to meetings? And then other more qualitative things like you mentioned before through Meddic, those can really help or any other framework for that matter. But using that kind of information to inform what is a good sales process look like, and how well are your deals mapping to it. And that can be really, really helpful for like coaching and for training and for helping to adapt your sales process based on, how things change within your deals. I think it's just always a learning process where you're just going back to, how your customers behave in the deal and how you can help to pull them forward and keep those deals moving.
So you talked about AI, and how do you see the role of AI in marketing? What will become redundant? And which tool will become very, very important?
Yeah, I mean, I don't claim to have any kind of crystal ball on where AI is going, and I think it's going to be changing so rapidly that that anyone that has a solid prediction or everyone's going to be proven wrong because the change is so exponentially great. I think right now we're in phase one of how AI impacts marketing. I think, using it for generating content, whether that's email content or whether that's blog content or similar, that's just the start. And, increasingly we're seeing more co-pilot type approaches to AI where it's offering advice, it's offering guidance. And then I think increasingly you're going to see more agent-like behavior where it's either operating semi-independently, or it's automating tasks that aren't great for humans to be doing themselves. And so I think what we're going to see is increasingly allowing any go-to-market person that's employing AI to focus on higher value activities, certainly for the time being, and that tends to be things that are very creative. So it could be, not just creative, but also like relationship wise. So building personal relationships with their prospects, with others in the market and the like, instead of having to worry about, doing rote, repetitive type tasks, they can be focusing on building those relationships. And that's I think that's sort of that authenticity in relationships can be better nurtured because of AI. So, which tools will be winners? I mean, increasingly you'll see this agent-like behavior where it's automating in a semi-autonomous way across everything. There's no limit. Like content, again, is just the start. I mean, any marketing activity from email to landing pages to video to all, everything is going to be heavily influenced, and the rote work, the bulk work is going to be removed and done by AI, and recommendations, insights are going to be pushed to humans that can then make qualitative decisions. The degree to which AI will support or replace some of those qualitative decisions, that remains to be seen. But I think increasingly we're going to see it as an enabler, not just something that you query and get content for.
Okay, let's just continue deeper into this. You can query, get content for. So what is the utility of having a lot of content published? Will this generate response down the road? How will that shape out? Or people will just go back to because, okay, let's just talk to Peter in person, and that's the better way of selling.
I think that, there will be like an authenticity crisis of sorts. I don't know how big it'll be, but where people will separate content into two types. There will be like utility content, and there will be value content. I don't know how else to describe it. So utility content, like if I'm just looking to find out, what is what's a hotel I can go to in at the beach that has a pool and whatever, or what are some great ideas for a vacation in France? And then, so I don't really care too much about whether or not it's it's a authentic piece of information. I just want a list, and I want information. So give that to me. And so whether that's written by AI or not, I don't really care. I just am looking for an answer. Now, if you take that same question, what should I do in France for my vacation? Now, if you have an authentic article written by someone who lives there, or someone who has vacationed extensively in France, and they're giving you some deep insights based on French culture and where to eat and what to do, and that's a lot more valuable to me in a different way. So when I'm not looking for transactional type information, then I do want to get deeper information than AI currently can provide. So I think that's where we're going to start to see a bit of a split. And again, I don't know how long this will last before AI catches up, but because again, trying to predict where AI will be in 18 months is pretty challenging. But for the time being, I think that we're going to see that kind of split between utility type content and content that's authentic and valuable.
Okay, so at this moment right now, so you initially talked about the video. I think video is a pillar right now for you. So do you foresee any other elements that are converting better, or is it shifting towards video? What are your opinions?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does depend on the buyer and where they are in the journey and what they're looking for. I mean, video is very compelling. I think if I had to choose just one content type, I probably would pick video, but it's not always the case. Like content can be, I just want to get some information quickly, and a video is actually annoying because I just want, give me the answer, and I just want it in text, and I can consume that much more quickly. Similarly, like, if I'm in a product and I'm working through a product, and I just want to get an answer on how to use something, maybe a video is great because it'll show me which buttons to click on or whatever. But maybe text is better, or maybe an interaction with an agent, a human or AI, would be better because I can get my question answered more quickly. So I think, yeah, video, I really like video. I'm bullish on video. I've, had the pleasure of working with just some, one in particular, incredible video designer, but it just depends. It depends on the customer and how they want to interact with you and your brand.
So you've talked about, obviously, as a marketer, we try to build trust. Okay. So, I mean, how do you foresee this trust element being shifted? Because right now, again, people are finding it difficult to trust whatever is in front of them. Is it fake? Is it real? Is it auto-generated and all of that? So in this trust deficit kind of an environment, what should marketers do?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I think that the way I think I would think about it is, that's why communities are becoming so important. And that's why, I don't want to, I hate to use the word influencers, but that's why, like, the founder-led marketing or personality-based marketing is becoming so important, is because I need, if I'm talking to you and I know that you're generating your own content, you have your own opinions, you have your own views, you're trusted to me because we work together, or I've just interacted with you or whatever, that's going to go a long ways because I know and trust you. Now, of course, someone could try to replicate you. I mean, I guess that's possible, but more than possible. But just in good faith, I trust that I trust you. I know you are producing good content, have opinions, have views, and the like. And then community is like just a vehicle for that. So, so I can access you and your trusted opinions via via this community. And so that's why I think that we're going to see more of community in person. Community can be in person or digital, but community led for sure, and people first type interactions. So I trust you, and so then I'll trust your opinion and take that under advisement.
So in terms of community building, what's your sort of like framework? Do you have any ideas? Okay, this is how you started up, and this is how you grow to a mid state, and then you start reaping the fruits out of it.
Yeah. So I think of like a company that I was at called Spreedly. So it's payments industry. And we started out with a small event. There was 0 people in our community. We started with a small event, had 100 people show up to this conference, and then grew it. And within was it 3 years, we had 2,500 people at our event. And I think the key there was a virtual event, and the key there was value. I mean, that was really at the end of the day what it was, is we were pushing value out to the community, not looking for, anything in return. And we had road shows where we weren't up there pitching our products. It was just meet and greet with interesting panelists and interesting speakers, not pushing our product. We mentioned that it was sponsored by Spreedly, of course, but we weren't aggressively pushing the company. We'd have speakers and panelists from customers, but also from non-customers. We'd have, people that were using alternatives or having alternative approaches, and it was just honest. I mean, that was really what it was. I mean, people knew that it was funded by us. It wasn't like we were hiding that. But at the same time, we were just trying to put out good into the market. And I think that you can upset that balance and upset the community when you try to aggressively, mine that community for business. It comes back to the trust factor. Like if someone feels like you're misusing the community, for your own gain, they know that there's going to be some gain in there for you. I mean, it's expected, but it's a matter of how do you calibrate that to make sure that the value you're putting in far exceeds the whatever you're getting out of it. And I think that's just the mentality that you need to take into these communities.
And in terms of ROI, how would you sort of like approach the discussion of ROI with the higher execs, board, and all of that?
Yeah,
for this community part. Yeah.
So it's another good question, because like it is difficult. Like I think that that marketers can too easily get into a trap, and the badge scan trap. Where I went to this conference and I scanned 1,000 badges, and oh look, there's a correlation of some kind, or there's a it may not be causal, but there's a correlation between these 20 people and a deal that was closed. Hence, there's an ROI for this event. With a community, it's difficult because they may be members of the community, they may be consuming the content, but there's often just these subtle conversations that are happening between community members. Maybe they sat down with a customer and had a conversation. Maybe they just were decided to get in market and then positively recalled the brand because it was associated with a community. The correlation is difficult to make with a lot of clarity. So I think that's where it comes back to that earlier point I was making about qualitative and quantitative. or you're not always going to have the data, and that's okay. Like, you make the correlations where you can, make the attributions where you can, but you're going to have to make bets. And I think that you just have to look at the way that the market is heading in terms of, as you said, trust. And if you can be pushing out more value into the market, then you're going to generate interest and awareness that may not be entirely measurable, and that's okay.
Okay. So as a marketer, so creative and the creative direction of any campaign makes a huge difference. So which creative ideas and elements that you have seen which continue to be green for good, like they keep on working, and which are the new creative ideas that are coming up for better conversions and all of that?
Yeah, I think I'd go back to like that. Well, it is community. I think is going to be the big one for me. But I think also like founder led, or personality led, and that's not empty personality. It's not just someone being flashy and just saying things for shock value. I think it's people that are genuinely trying to help and offering meaningful support and advice that can help others. And I think that I think what I really enjoy about that as a tactic is it's evergreen. Like people there, like there's no better feeling than helping someone else. And if you can be out there providing value to the market, it's something that's self-sustaining versus like using some kind of growth hack that, makes you feel bad at the end of the day because you're using something a little bit dirty maybe. Like that's just not self-sustaining, and ultimately it's not going to, support you and your market. But if you're out there, looking to provide value, then, that's going to come back to you many times over. So I think that kind of community support, helping others, and trying to do things in a way that allows you to focus on the people. I think that's really the big thing. So the more that you can make time to provide value to others, and clear away the automation, clear away the bulk tasks that are preventing you from having those human interactions, I think the better.
Okay, that's awesome. So there was this going through your feed, we just found that there is this semi-outbound approach that converted you. So can you please talk about that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not sure. What was that?
So let me rephrase the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I understand. Yeah. There was a conversation that I had with an outbound rep recently, and what was interesting about it is that it was supplemented by what I've been talking about before, which is that sort of that personal value side of things. So this was a person who was on my LinkedIn profile, and they weren't just simply like liking things and moving on. They were actually commenting with intelligent response, or like thoughtful comments, and that they weren't asking me for anything. They were just commenting and being interesting and in increasing the value of the conversation. And so then when they actually did outbound to me and gave me a call, I remembered their name. I remembered the company. I remembered, a little bit about them because I'd seen them so frequently in my LinkedIn feed. And so that made the conversion that much better. So it again comes back to, the idea of authenticity and them having built up some trust over time because of those interactions. It wasn't simply, let's LinkedIn connect and then I'll immediately give you a pitch. And then, why didn't we take a meeting? It was nurtured over time. And, there could have been a point along that interaction where that person realized that maybe we weren't a good fit. I mean, that's a valid outcome. It could have been that they realized that there was a particular angle based on, what I was saying that would make for a better pitch. And so all of that kind of that engagement that they had with me help them to inform a better story when they got me on the phone.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. So I've pretty much covered everything that I wanted to ask. So is there anything that I've missed you want to talk about, please?
No, I think it was a good conversation.
No, I truly enjoyed all of the conversation and I've learned a lot. So, I mean, just one question. I actually asked everybody actually this question. So, if you were to recommend me 3 books that I should read and become a better marketer, what would those books be? Or any blogs or anybody I should follow?
Yeah, it's funny. Like I think about the books and rather than giving you books, I think to me, I think that what people should do is get a number one is a networking group. So in your local community, find like the American Marketing Association or local meetups and get out and meet people. And just like network and talk with as many marketers as possible, talk with as many sellers as possible, understand their perspectives. The second thing is I would find someone who you can bounce ideas off of, a mentor that is has been through. That doesn't mean that they've been in the market for 40 years, but there's someone that has been through things and they have some perspective, and it could be someone that has the same level of experience as you, but just someone to bounce ideas off of. And then the third is there's just a lot of that's changing in marketing so much that that I think you need to be thinking about blogs as well, because that just has a lot more of that fast moving information. But then I think the final thing, if I were to go beyond 3, the final thing is there's one truism that just goes across marketing, and it's been true in marketing from day one, and that is it's about the customer. And there are no shortage of books that just talk about understanding your customer at a deep level. And regardless of tactics, regardless of technology, if you don't understand your customer at a deep level, then you're going to be lost. So I think that going back to some of the classics of marketing from the 50s and 60s that talk about understanding your customer, I think that's a great source as well, because that's going to be true forever.
Okay, that's awesome. So Peter, where can people find you? So do you have any blog, anything you want to mention?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, best place is actually on LinkedIn. So encourage people to go there. So just search me up, and love to connect and chat with folks.
Okay. So Peter, again, I learned a lot, and it was an awesome session. So
well, great to connect. Good to talk to you.
Same
Appreciate it.
Okay. Have a nice day. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.